What's good, niggas? Last time I talked about, the spiritual ego. This time let's talk about some signs of a spiritual ego. But before I get into that, please make sure to like this video and subscribe. And if you can think of some signs that I did not say in this video, comment below. Now let's get into it. Now, it's very common in the spiritual community for a lot of motherfuckers to, try to help their fans, and they kind of like have a line of communication, fan messages, the person, their problem, the person, makes a video on it, or, just emails them back, or whatever form of communication. But one thing I noticed with, quite a few people is they're judgmental about it. Like, imagine, being to a point where like you're asking a YouTuber for some advice, and then they make fun of you for the advice you ask. Now, there's a difference between tough-love and then just being an asshole. Like, when I do that in the future, I'm sure tough love. Like, I might, be what you might be considered rude, but I'm not just gonna like completely dismiss your feelings. I'm gonna keep it a beam. Number two, they just have that aura about them. Like, you can often sense a person's energy once you get to, a certain point, or if you were just born at that point, if you're already an empath or whatnot. But, and I'll say, at a certain point, because there are a lot of people who literally cannot read energy at all, which, is kind of peculiar, but we're all different. Next sign, they judge the people who are asleep. And even that statement in itself is, judgmental as fuck. And I myself am guilty of this. I will get, like, I used to work at a pizza shop upstate, right? And then there was, a bunch of NPCs there and stuff. An NPC is a non-playable character, by the way. And it would anger me and it would enrage me. And, every time I would interact with an NPC, I would get mad. And I had to realize that they're just as a part of this program as I am. They're just as important as I am in this program. They're just as important as you are in this program that we call life. And when I say, they judge, the NPCs there, but that's something that I really had to get used to. And I kind of, did a lot of self-reflection, and like, I'm judgmental as fuck. I'm a Virgo, so I'm judgmental as hell. Here's the next sign. They diss people who disagree with their stances. And completely dismiss them. Now, this is really common in, the spiritual community, or at least a pseudo-spiritual community, I like to call them. If, like, a motherfucker says something, and you're like, I disagree with that. All of a sudden, I'm not woke. And when you ask them, to provide any proof, they usually never do. Or if you ask them, what do you mean by this? Do your research to prepare. What the fuck does that mean? Like, that makes no sense. Like, if somebody disagrees with you, you can have a healthy discussion. You don't have to just diss them back. This gives me another idea, signs that you're an NPC. You see, the way my brain works, I just keep getting ideas and ideas and ideas and ideas and ideas and ideas. But, yeah. Another sign, they judge people who are not on the same path as them. Now, when I say, for example, there are a lot of spiritual people in the community who are vegan, right? And they judge people who don't eat, who are not vegan. And by the way, this video could literally just be somewhat summarized by saying, nigga, they judgmental. Because, once you're really enlightened and not just conscious, because there's a difference between enlightenment and consciousness. But that's a different video for a different day. But there's people in the spiritual community who judge people who eat meat. And I remember this, so one person said, I'm not going to say their name, they said, I can't date a person who eats meat. And while I kind of understand it, it's just the tone and the way that they said it, which honestly was a turn off. And, I still eat meat. Do I want to go vegan at some point? Yes. But, just because something is good for you doesn't mean it's good for me. And, that whole thing with, me eating do whatever, listen to your body. Like, nigga, if being vegan makes you feel better than fucking, eating what you eat now, become a vegan if eating nothing but meat makes you feel better than being vegan. Do that. Like it doesn't fucking matter. But like you can't judge somebody who's not on a path that you are, because at one point you wasn't on this path. And it's important to learn and reflect and grow on your past self, because that's how you grow. But you can't just, necessarily, like beat yourself up for, your past mistakes either. You gotta learn to love yourself. You gotta learn to, love the person who you was, because if it wasn't for who you was, you wouldn't be who you are today. Ooh, that's a bar. That's a bar. Next sign, they kind of gatekeep spirituality. Or maybe, I'm not sure if gatekeep is the word, but even I'm kind of guilty of this myself. And, going back to the meat thing, like, there's people who say you can't be spiritual if you eat meat. That's bullshit. I know plenty of spiritual motherfuckers that eat meat. Who are you? That is so narcissistic. You think that you're so spiritual, you get to dictate who's spiritual and who's not. Now, don't get it twisted. There's a lot of fake spiritual motherfuckers out there. And, I'm talking about the motherfuckers. And you see, this is me. I guess this is part of my ego. But at the same time, there are a lot of pseudo-spiritual motherfuckers out there that don't meditate, that don't journal, that don't, fucking ego, man. That don't, do shadow work and stuff. They just praise crystals and astrology. And, like numbers. And that honestly, I will admit, and real man admits his mistakes. That is me speaking for my ego. And that is something I need to work on myself. But the difference between me and them is I actually admit it. And again, that might be my ego talking, but nigga, oh well. But I don't have this attitude that, I'm more spiritual than me, because nigga, that makes no sense. Like, how can you be more of something? Like, how can you be more of a Buddhist? How can you be more of a Christian? Like, that like literally makes no fucking sense at all. But anyways, I hope you liked the video. Again, please like the video and subscribe. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Be sure to voice your opinions below.